Hey keyholders, Brogar DM here. Just wanted to let you all know before this video began that there are some audio issues in this video. I have mostly fixed them and edited them out, but there are still points where I get quiet or my voice kind of cuts out a little bit. It is due to my mic being quite sensitive. I have worked it out and fixed most of those issues for future episodes, but for this one and the next one, you will still hear that weird distortion. But yeah. For now, I hope you guys can still enjoy the video, and I will talk to you all later. Hello, keyholders! My name is Brogar DM, and welcome back to another episode of Our Life Beginning and Always. When we last left off, we were playing through the intro chapter to Step 2, and now we are getting back into Wave. And without further ado, let's just begin, okay, guys? Don't want to keep this going for too long. Oh, by the way, we're teenagers now, so middle schoolers, you know, barely. So, yeah, just so things make sense in case people haven't watched the previous episodes. The family shopping trip had lasted most of the morning, and you still had to unload everything from the trunk before you could go enjoy the afternoon. Let me move the mouse a little bit off screen here. There we go. You cradled another bag in your arms as you headed towards your house. It was one of the heavier bags from the grocery store, loaded with fresh apples, ripe tomatoes, a bunch of carrots, and even half a watermelon. It was one... Oh. Ma came out for the front door and paused just ahead of you. Oh, we get to see more of you now. Before we just saw, that hair does look a lot more purple now. Before I thought it looked kind of brunette. Now that I look at it, it's a darker shade of purple. Okay.
It's no trouble.
Need any... Oh, sorry, that wasn't her voice. Her voice was more like Undyne. It's been a little bit since I've recorded this, so I'll get back into it. Need any help with that, Aura? I could bring it the rest of the way, if you want me to. No, I've got it. You were doing fine. I'm not a weakling. Even if it was large, it wasn't really any problem for you. Ma gave you an encouraging grin and rustled her fingers through your black hair. Well, my hair is kind of a mixture of black and purple, so I guess. You set the next bag on the counter. Your older sister began to root around inside for the contents with a sigh. How much is left? How much is left? Still a few more bags. With a huff and a puff, Elizabeth continued putting away the groceries, and you retreated out of the kitchen before you could become the target of her bad mood.
Be careful.
Careful, Aura. You hadn't been looking where you were going and bumped right into Mom, almost stepping on her toes to boot. Sorry. I can give you a pass this time, but be sure to watch where you're going. If you run into the wrong person, you might get your license revoked. She grinned at the bad joke as you continued through the door. Outside, Ma had started organizing what remained and putting back any loose objects that had fallen out during the trip. When you stepped up to the trunk beside her, she took in a big breath of air, her dress gently swaying around in the breeze.
It's a shame.
It's a shame we had to spend the morning cooped up in that shopping center. It's a beautiful day, don't you think? You tilted your head to the sky, gazing at the clear blue expanse. I wish it was raining. You let out a sigh, searching the skies for any sign of a fluffy gray rain cloud. Maybe we'll get a sun shower one of these days. You perked up at that, hoping it were true. It'd be a refreshing change right about now. With renewed enthusiasm, you turned back to the trunk to help Ma with the last of the bags. Oh, hi, Cove. You notice Mom wave over at Cove, who had just exited his front door, his surfboard propped up under one arm. Let me see. Surfboard, wetsuit, and where might you be off to on this beautiful day? Cove instantly startled, having not realized your family was also out here, even though your mom was the one who called out. You were the one he looked at. He tried to settle down again. He jogged across the pavement to properly say hello to you, and your parents, of course. It was decidedly awkward since Cove had trouble figuring out how close to stand to you. The addition of his unwieldy surfboard made the whole thing seem even clumsier. Careful with that thing, you'll put someone's eye out. Mom chuckled and got a whispered reproach from Ma for it. Pam, please, go easy on him. Cove winced. Sorry, Miss Brogard. Don't mind her, honey. It's a beautiful day for surfing. I haven't been out on the waves in a long time. I'm jealous. Also, I can't remember if I edited in, but Sunset Bird isn't Hawaii, it's California. I meant to edit in a thing that said it is California, but I don't know if I did. But yeah, just to correct my mistake there. Yeah, I'm hoping to get a few good waves before it gets dark. Hi, Cove. He had relaxed a lot when Ma spoke to him, but the rigidity came back as soon as you said something. Hi, Aura. Cove managed to grin, and it almost felt like you had butterflies in your stomach. Do you want to come hang out there later? You noticed the flush of red on his cheeks, but that might have just been the heat. Sure. Oh, yeah, I could do that. I'll just say alright. Alright. Cool. When he spoke again, he tried to contain some of the excitement that was clearly ready to burst. It'll be fun. You're not done unloading, right? Can I help? No. This is our job. You go enjoy the beach. Aura can catch up as soon as she is finished here. Alright, I'll see you. Yeah, bye for now. Cove headed on down to the beach, with more skip in his step than normal. It was really cute. You smiled softly to yourself at the thought that you'd be joining him soon. He sure seemed to perk up after you agreed to meet him there. I wonder why that could be. Ma! Now who's giving him a hard time? Lanny. Shush, it's different. Mom's face broke into an incredulous grin. In what way? I'm being supportive, and he can't hear it. Mom full-on laughed that time. You're the worst of us when it comes to this, honestly. I keep trying to warn people, but they won't listen. I only want to help. I think it's far to say he might need it. Meddler, but you have a point. Right. You narrowed your eyes at their teasing, and they simply chuckled conspiratorially before taking more bags from the trunk, and, of course, heading inside. Once everything had finally been taken in and put away, you got yourself ready to meet Cove at the beach. You weren't sure what you were going to do. He was surfing. Your family had a surfboard around here somewhere. I don't think that Aura would have a surfboard, but I think I would be very surprised with Ma having said she hasn't been surfing in a while if Ma didn't, or Elizabeth didn't, since Elizabeth is considered the popular girl. Can I take your surfboard to the beach? Sure, it's in the garage. Just remember to keep the leash on when you're in the water. After finding the board in the back of the garage and getting everything ready, you headed down to the beach.
Have fun.
Have fun, honey. Stay safe. When you arrived at the shore, you were greeted by the crash of waves and the soft calls of seagulls. You took in a lungful of the ocean air and felt your olive skin warm in the sun. You noticed a small setup nearby with a towel, some sunscreen, and a bottle of water. It, of course, must be Cove's. You spotted Cove himself nearby. He hadn't gone out to sea yet. He was just sitting in the sand at the water's edge, his board propped up beside him. You strolled up beside him. Hey, I'm here. Aura. He looked up at you with a smile and quickly hopped to his feet. No glasses again, I see, my friending. I was wondering if you were still coming. And stay inside all day? I don't think so. You were able to make him laugh with that. Then he cast his eyes out towards the waves. I borrowed this board, but I don't know how to surf. You dragged a toe through the sand. You may have had a board to borrow, but you were totally inexperienced at actually using it. I guess that makes sense. I've never seen you with one before. He laughed a bit, and you felt no less embarrassed. We don't have to go out, you know. We can stay here on the shore, or if you want, I could teach you. I owe you that much, right? I was the one who always promised to show you about surfing. True, he's offered that option to you for pretty much as long as you've known him. You were touched, he remembered. You wanted to try surfing. Give anything a try. I'm not gonna let Aura, surfing seems like fun. I would have loved to surf if I had the option. But yeah, I want Aura to try surfing. I'll do it. Let's surf. Cool. You held your Mars board tight. It was settled. You paddled out into the sea to where the good waves were. The water was cool against your skin.
It's nice.
Hello there again. Not too calm, but nothing crazy. It looks perfect today. He smiled at you, and you couldn't help but smile back. You felt totally content. Until Cove kicked the water a little too hard, and it inadvertently splashed you. Hey! Sorry. The apology did not come across as especially repentant, as he was practically laughing when he said it. It was on purpose. You splashed him back. You laughed, but waited for an opening for revenge. The second he looked away, you kicked back, spraying him.
Seriously?
Is that any way to treat someone trying to help? I came out here to teach you. And I was just following your example. Cove tried to keep a straight face, but ended up looking away. The water you flicked at him landed in shiny droplets in his hair. Then here's another lesson. He soaked you deliberately this time. He used his full leg and an impressive curtain of water hit you in the face. You lost your balance and scrambled to keep hold of the board. You just managed to stay on, but it was close. Cove winced. Are you okay? That wasn't what I was trying to do. I'm fine. But we should do the real teaching. Yeah. He chuckled awkwardly and shook some water out of his ear. With that, Cove started telling you all the tips and tricks of how to stay on a surfboard. He demonstrated both good and bad posture, and explained where you needed to put your weight. Like this? You wiggled your body so that you were more in the center of your board. Cove nodded. Yep, just like that. The lesson continued, and it had to go slowly, but you got it. Cove did his best to guide you through the process, and by the end you felt you had picked up the basics of surfing. Occasionally, he reached out and touched you to more directly help get positions right. It felt nice. But if you acknowledged you noticed his touch at all, he would instantly push away. Pull, not push, but whatever. Since you'd spent so much time working on balance and stable water, you wonder why and you'd actually get to catch some waves. You brought it up to Cove, and he nodded. If you think you're ready, go for it. You'll do great. All right. With that, you graduated from Cove's class, and the two of you were able to surf together more casually. Even if he was still better at it. What an afternoon. The setting sun was visible on the horizon. Every time you would look away, it had sunk a little lower. The beach was darkening, but still pleasantly warm. Pleasant. You knew you should get out of the water before it was completely dark, and the sea. You rode one last wave to get back to the beach. There, you picked up your surfboard and gave it a quick once-over. Cove followed behind you to the shore. He put his board with his other things and grabbed his towel to start drying off. As he ruffled his hair with the towel, you watched the sunset together. The colors were beautiful in the distance, and the shadows around you deepened. There was no need for words between you two as you both enjoyed the sight for a moment. Cove broke the silence. The waves were good today, I think. Did you really think so? That was the little girl voice, but we're fine. He nodded, mildly. You chatted a little more until the conversation truly died out, and all you heard was the rhythmic sound of the waves. Then, Cove sighed. The day can't be over. Not yet. He scowled into the distance as if the sun's exiting the sky was a personal offense. Don't you think it should be longer? Yeah. Time's too short. Cove stood up straight in defiance of the approaching darkness. I'm not gonna go home yet. I want to go somewhere. I don't know. Cove was still dripping in salt water, so you weren't sure what the alternative was. Wetsuits were fine for the beach, and not much else. It wasn't a good idea for him to lug his surfboard around town either. I'm gonna be less blunt. I was very blunt before. But I don't think I'm that blunt. We'll sure be welcome anywhere soaking wet like this. No. Yeah, I want to do something. Cove nodded with a smile. Then he looked down the shore with wide, shining eyes. There's at least one place that's always okay to hang out in, no matter what time it is. The park. You nodded. The park was virtually always empty. Even Elizabeth only went over there nowadays, if she was looking for you. How times have changed. She used to be so protective over the place. Well, she was a child then. In fact, the only person there was a chance of running into might be that Jeremy kid again. You brought the idea up and Cove, and he cringed. But I'm still going. The sun is still there a little. I'm staying out as long as it is. You tagged along. I'm not gonna abandon Cove. Okay, let's go. Cove took a minute to put his stuff in order. He made sure to get it all through, though didn't take much care to shake the sand off. You dealt with your own things. You took your time to pack your bag. The two of you finished at about the same time. As a final touch, Cove plucked his glasses off the beach and put them back on his face. He looked more like himself now. He led the way down the beach to the park. It wasn't far, so it didn't take you long at all. The sun still hadn't completely disappeared just yet when you made your arrival. Cove stuck his surfboard upright in the sand and tossed his towel over the top. By now, the two of you were mostly dry. The summer breeze on your skin kept you pleasantly warm. Cove idly went over to the monkey bars. He grabbed them, feet flat on the ground, and pretended to go across. He had definitely grown in the past few years. 100%. You were still short enough to use the monkey bars yourself. Sometimes being tiny had its perks. When he got to a bar in the middle, Cove pulled himself up through, and then sat on top of the bars. His legs dangled off the side of the bar he perched on. You joined him on the monkey bars. You looked above yourself to inspect the monkey bars. You might have been short, but that just gave you more experience in climbing things. You leaped and grabbed at one of the bars, using the momentum to swing yourself up. It took a little more scrambling, but you made it to the top. Cove seemed impressed. You settled on the monkey bar like it was a throne. You didn't get to be above everything often. Guess what? He smiled broadly and raised an eyebrow. He's not here. Right, it was true. There wasn't a single sign of Jeremy. Looks like it was just going to be the two of you tonight. Cove hugged his head and groaned dramatically. Your eyes widened when he whipped his head back up.
No way.
I can't believe how dumb my parents are for forcing me to come to this stupid place. You were taken aback and blinked for a second before you realized he was quoting Jeremy. I like the wink. Parents don't know anything. That's not really nice. Funny, but not nice. Cove tried to look contrite, but ended up chuckling instead. You looked around the old park, the streets you knew like the back of your hand, and the beach. These were your stomping grounds. To make a point of why I chose that option, I don't think Aura is going to be the kind of person who would take that. I get the kid's a jerk, but I have a feeling there's more going on in his life that we don't understand, so I don't want to be a complete ass to him. It's the same reason why I didn't tackle him earlier. But, yeah. You wondered how Cove actually felt. How much was his joke, just a joke, and how much was sincere dislike of this place. Moving had never been his choice. Do you actually like this neighborhood? Do you really have to ask that, Aura? Cove kicked his legs carelessly as they dangled. He smiled softly. I like it here. I really do. It's a nice place. He didn't hesitate. There was no uncertainty. That was his genuine opinion. You're the best thing in the neighborhood, Cove. Cove flushed and started kicking his legs wildly, like he was running in place. It didn't take long for the day to finally draw to a close. The sun was gone, and once again, it was dark. You chatted a while longer, but it was definitely winding down. I wish days were longer. I wish this day were longer. His feet kicked out. It made him look like a pouty child. Oh well. Cove sighed. It was time to go home. He hopped down from the monkey bars with a thump when his feet hit the ground. You clambered down the monkey bars yourself. You lowered yourself more slowly than Cove, and barely made a sound when your feet reached the ground. Cove grabbed his surfboard and threw his towel around his neck with his water bottle in hand. He was ready. You both began your trek up the road. It was a quiet night, and you didn't run into anyone else. In what felt like no time at all, you had reached your street. As you walked, Cove smiled to himself. It was a soft expression, and you couldn't help but wonder what put it there. Everything okay? I just remembered when we were younger. It used to be such a big deal to come home after dark. You could indeed recall, if you got sandy, your parents would have something to say. If you got wet, your parents would have more to say. And if you came home after dark, well, your mom's and his dad better have said it was okay beforehand. You used to need permission for everything. That small comment he made exposed just how much freedom you really had this summer. Cove looked up into the sky, a smile still on his face, as the two of you walked side by side, reminiscing. When you came to your houses, you turned to each other. Thanks for today, Aura. Thanks for the awesome day, Cove. Cove waved, and you both turned around to your respective homes. This was a pleasant end to the outing, you thought. That was a nice little thing. Nice little moment. Nice little day with Cove. I enjoyed it. Also, I noticed this earlier. I already read through this, so don't worry about this. I noticed this earlier that I have things for Derek. That's his name. I had to read up here for Derek. I'm gonna play through them. I don't know why there's two soirees. I'm wondering if one's for Derek and the other's for his sibling. I'm guessing so. Anyway, we're gonna do the growing one now. I want to do two. I'm gonna stick to two per episode. I know that the last episodes were very spread out just because of how long the step 2 intro was. But I'm gonna stick to 2 of these no matter how long it is. We're just gonna accept it, and that's how we're gonna do things. So we're gonna go to the growing chapter now. Mouse on screen and go. Early one afternoon, you found yourself in the living room with your family. It was another one of those summer days where it felt too hot to go outside, but it was too uncomfortable to do anything inside either. The air conditioner was cranked up as far as you could negotiate it, but everyone was still being pretty lazy. You and your moms and sister were lounging around, while the TV blared on in the background, ignored by all of you. You, specifically, were perched on the arm of the couch. Elizabeth had claimed the entire couch for herself. It was too hot to argue over the space, so you didn't bother. Elizabeth broke the silence with a loud groan. You glanced over. She was lying on her back over the couch, massaging her calf with one hand. I feel terrible. I'm dying in this house, and my legs hurt. Mom looked up from the magazine she'd barely been flipping through and frowned, concerned. Could you have strained them somehow? Elizabeth flailed briefly, then flopped onto her side with a heavy sigh. I don't know. It just hurts. Oh, sweetheart. Ma got up from her seat at the kitchen table and walked over to your sister. She did a light pat on Elizabeth's shoulder sympathetically. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. Maybe it's growing pains. You could be taller by next fall. Elizabeth scoffed. She didn't look impressed by Ma's assessment. I'd rather be my height forever than deal with this. Mom walked over too, leaning against the back of the couch. Kids, they grow up fast. Soon Elizabeth will have a home of her own, maybe even with a nice husband and some kids, if she feels like it. She sniffed loudly and wiped at her eye, but you could tell that it was just a bit. You tilted your head, even though you knew Elizabeth liked guys. It was hard to imagine her with a boyfriend or husband. She only seemed invested in hanging out with her group of friends, not chasing after boys. Mom must agree with you, because she shook her head.
Now.
Let's not exaggerate. She's still practically a child. But if you ever do pursue romance, Elizabeth, you can come talk to me about it. Definitely, we're always willing to lend an ear. Elizabeth's features contorted in disgust. No way! I'm not talking to my moms about that. Mom's jaw dropped, and she gasped in an exaggerated display of shock. Her hand came up to rest against her chest. Ma only grinned. She didn't look offended by Elizabeth's quick response at all. It really wouldn't be so bad to come to us. I know what it's like to have a crush on a pretty boy or two. I don't. but I can always listen." Mom snorted at her own joke, while Ma burst into giggles. They were having a little too much fun at Elizabeth's expense. Elizabeth certainly wasn't feeling the amusement because she rolled her eyes and sat up.
Thanks.
"I'm going back to my room. I'd rather melt alone. Thanks." She strode off towards the staircase, taking the steps 2 at a time. Your mom stared after her, then turned to each other with raised eyebrows. "Whoops! Looks like we scared her off with all that romance talk."
Well,
"Oh well, we'll get her next time." You watch them titter with some surprise. Obviously your moms liked women, but you had no idea that Ma liked guys too. Today was the first time you'd heard her say something like that. So Ma is bisexual. Okay. Ma, I thought you only liked ladies. You like guys too?" Ma turned to you, happy to bring you into things now that you'd spoken up. She smiled and nodded. "That's right, I like both. But I like your mom most out of everyone. She's special." Ma's smile turned all soft in the corners, like it usually did when she looked at her. She pinched Mom's cheek lightly. Ma reached up to cup a hand over Ma's. Even when Ma stopped pulling her cheek, their hands remained clasped together.
you're fantastic.
"Thanks, Alani. I think most women have charm, but no one can hold a candle to you."
Aww.
"Oh, Pamela." Ma beamed, then kissed Mom on the cheek she'd been pinching before. You thought the moment was very sweet. You smiled to yourself at the sight. No matter how often your moms expressed their feelings for each other, it was always nice to witness it. Ma looked back to you, letting Mom's hand go with a brief squeeze. She settled down next to you, and Mom followed soon after. They already got the difficult one with Elizabeth. I'll be the malleable one. "You know, I'm also here to listen to you whenever you're ready. That offer isn't just for Elizabeth. In fact, I think that talk might be needed sooner for you. After all, you already have someone. Isn't that right?" Mom shook her head and elbowed Ma, but it was futile. "Never." You blushed fiercely. I like the idea that when I am teased, I get embarrassed, but I like to be the teaser. I think that's a very good niche. Ma only giggled and smiled, not looking the least bit apologetic. "There's no rush. Of course, you can take all the time you need to figure out what or who you want.
It's okay.
Don't think you have to stick with whatever you come up with right now, either. Life's nice like that. It can change, and you can learn." Mom nodded her agreement. "The two of us are happy to hear you out. We may be able to relate better than you think. Still, we won't push the topic, at least most of the time." She gave Ma the weakest scathing look possible while being unable to stop grinning. You nodded silently. You weren't sure what to say to that. I think having someone to talk to would be nice for Aura. A lot of people's parents get very, touchy-feely when their kids start to date. I like that they're very open. I feel like that was a nice way to do it, instead of them being like, "Oh, no, you don't talk to boys. You talk to boys, I smack." So, I appreciate it. Mom let out another exaggerated sniffle. It didn't take a genius to realize it was fake. "First Elizabeth, and now you, Aura. Do you have to grow up?" Yes. Children tend to do that from time to time." Your parents quickly grew absorbed in their conversation about rearing kids. You took that as your cue to leave, getting up so you could spend some time alone in your room, too. They let you go without problem, so you made your way up the stairs. You let out a sigh once you stepped into your room. It was just as sweltering in there as it was in the living room. possibly even a little warmer. You couldn't even open your window since it was hotter outside, and you just let the AC out. You dragged your feet as you crossed the room. You checked your current sweltering condition in the mirror as you passed by it. You thought back to the conversation you'd had downstairs about growing up and all that. After a moment, you stepped a bit closer to the mirror. You stared into it, then turned away from the surface to look down at yourself. You were definitely growing all right. It was weird thinking about how you were now in comparison to what you'd been when you were younger. When it came to your body, it was sort of scrawny. I established I'm not a sports person. The only thing I do is go for runs, so I think I'm sort of scrawny. You shifted to the side, your head still facing forward and continuing the self-evaluation from this viewpoint. At birth, you were assigned female, and I like that they give this option. I was assigned female, and your chest, you were starting, no. Your chest was flat now, but that would likely change at least as a little as you got even older. You tried to imagine what your adult self might be like. Your fingers brushed over your cheeks as you stared at the freckles, dusting your features. It was as if they quadrupled in the summertime with all the extra sun. You took a step backward, finished with your impromptu inspection. You locked eyes with your reflection, cocking your head to the side, all things considered. I think you were self-conscious. I know that may seem a little harsh, but again, the nerdy thing, I feel like a girl who has, like, acne and a girl who's kind of scrawny, not really big into popularity, they would be self-conscious. I think I'm self-conscious. It took you a moment to realize that you were frowning at yourself. You glanced away from the mirror. You shook your head roughly, putting thoughts of what you were turning into out of your mind. This wasn't the time to focus on such things. You had to find something to do in this heat. You shuffled over to your bed, collapsing onto the mattress, your brow scrunched up in thought. Time passed slowly, and to your annoyance, possible ideas about what to do were few and far between. You weren't sure how long it had been, but eventually you heard your mom call you from downstairs. Ora! Ora! There's a call for you. Cove wants to come over. Is that alright? Oh good, this moment's gonna be longer. I was hoping. I was like, oh crap, this is gonna be like a 20-minute video. Only the first one was in the 20-minute mark. I'm gonna try and keep my videos around the 40 to an hour, like I said. You perked up at the words, sitting up in bed. You yelled back to her immediately. Yeah, that is perfectly fine. I am 100% okay with that. You got to your feet and headed downstairs, eager to see your friend. You needed to go downstairs soon anyway, because your empty stomach told you it was almost time for lunch. Just as you reached the bottom of the stair, you saw Mom put the phone back on the receiver. She glanced at Ma, leaning her hip against the kitchen counter.
Pickle.
Well, here comes trouble. We better prepare ourselves. Ma clicked her tongue in clear disapproval of Mom's words. He's such a good boy. Cove never wants to cause trouble. He can just be a bit thoughtless and impulsive. Oh, I know he's very sweet, but that's what makes it more of a problem. If a stranger or some kid from school was egging Aura on to behave badly, I think we can both agree that she'd do the right thing in the end. But if Cove Holden got into a reckless mood and wanted Aura to be a part of the ride, can we really be certain of what call she'd make then?
Yes.
Yes, we can, Pamela. Aura would do whatever Cove wanted. Oh, God. I'm so happy that they're a bigger part of the story now. It felt like the first, when we were kids, it was more of like Mr. Holden. I love these two characters though. I love them so much. Pamela and oh god, I forget her name. We'll just say Ma for now. But yeah, I love them both.
Lonnie.
Lonnie, that was it. Lonnie? Your ma giggled freely at your mom's reaction. You worry too much about those two together. Look, all I'm saying is that I haven't forgotten that time when they were kids and tried to run away together. Okay, thank God. I was worried the moments wouldn't make my choices matter, but it seems the developers did make my choices matter in the moments, and I'm so happy about that. Ma just laughed, and she turned away, still snorting. Her eyes met yours. She blinked in surprise, then waved at you with an easy grin. Mom looked over, noticing you at the foot of the stairs as well. Oh, they didn't see me. I thought they were teasing me. Oh, that makes it even better. Oh, I didn't expect you to come down already, Aura. I just wanted to let you know what was happening. You called Mom out on her comment. Well, if I hadn't come now, then I wouldn't have heard everything you said.
Pam.
Oh, you got caught, Pam.
What?
What? You were saying things too? I didn't say anything I wouldn't have told to Aura directly. Oh, you're unbelievable. You shook your head at your parents, even as you fought a blush when you remembered just what they'd been discussing. All right. You got me. I'm sorry for being gossipy and saying that about your friend. I can be bad too.
Let's go.
We'll get out of your way now. Oh, no problem. Mom sighed in mock defeat and made her way down the hallway. Ma followed after her with a hushed giggle. Now you were alone in the living room, tasked with waiting for Cove. And that was just fine with you. If it hadn't been so hot outside, you would have visited him at his house a long time ago. You took a seat at the kitchen counter and settled in for the wait. As expected, there was a knock on the door a few minutes later. When you got up and answered it, it was your neighbor standing on the other side. He came in once you stepped aside to let him pass, giving a little wave. You greeted him, as you typically did. With a hug. I am a very affectionate person. I'm gonna hug him. He stiffened in your arms, then relaxed seconds after. I have been hugging him since we were kids. That is not going to change. One would think he'd be used to your hugs after all these years. Hey. His voice cracked as he struggled to say something. You didn't feel worried about that. It was how he usually reacted when you were close by. Cove sighed and wiped at his face a bit. You noted the sheen of sweat across his brow. He must be glad to be back in an air-conditioned place, even if he had only walked across the street to get there. Is something going on? Why'd you want to come over? I don't want to do anything, not when it's like this. He gestured vaguely to the humid air hanging around. I thought I could at least do nothing with you. How'd you know? You nodded. I was thinking the exact same thing. Let's do that. You grinned, and he smiled back, and that was all there was to it. Both of you were on the same page. Have you had lunch yet? I was gonna do it soon. He shook his head.
Not really.
I haven't really felt like eating because of the heat. I probably should have lunch. I didn't have breakfast this morning. I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna say I get like that sometimes too. Yeah, I get like that sometimes too. My parents don't like it when I do that though. Mine don't either. They'll ask if I ate here when I go back home. As one, you head into the kitchen. You crossed your arms as you glanced around, wondering what you should scrounge up for a meal. I don't want to eat anything that's warmed up. Is there anything cold or not cooked? Yeah. After a bit of back and forth, the two of you concluded that you should raid the fridge and cabinet in order to make sandwiches. With that settled, you had planned to decide on the outside layers first. There was a wide variety to choose from, since everyone in your house had their own favorites. There was white bread, wheat bread, sourdough, mixed grains, gluten-free, pita bread as well. Pita pockets, not pita bread.
Hey.
Could you take the grain one for me? Sure. You reached for the mixed grains, then made your decision. Sourdough is the best. A lettuce wrap, cinnamon swirl bread. Not sourdough. I like sourdough. I think sourdough is personally the best bread for a sandwich. But yeah, sourdough. You pulled out the sourdough too, setting both items on the counter. Then you had to decide what the main direction the sandwich would go in. You wanted to make a truly savory style of sandwich. I am a fan of savory sandwiches. Like, my personal favorite sandwich is a spicy Italian with hot sauce. Spicy hot sauce too. Something savory would make it feel like a real meal. As for the specific ingredients, let's see what we got here. Pepper jack, mozzarella. I'm gonna say she likes lettuce. Turkey, not tofu. Cucumber, sure she likes avocado. Peppers, pickles, and sure, hummus. And then you moved on to condiments. For the finishing touch, you intended to top your sandwich with temptation. Hot sauce. Temptation wins. Oh, I can choose multiple things. Salt and pepper, and I don't think hot sauce would go with anything unless it was a spicy mustard. So we'll say mustard. And that was everything. You nodded to yourself with a quiet hum, satisfied. The two of you bustled around the kitchen, opening and closing things in order to collect everything you needed for your individual sandwiches. You focused intently on assembling your own. For the most part, when you were close to being done, though, you glanced over at your neighbor. Cove was putting his sandwich together delicately, his brow furrowed and tongue sticking out just barely. There were open jars of peanut butter and honey near his plate, as well as a banana peel. So he was making a peanut butter banana honey sandwich on mixed grain bread? That sounds great. Peanut butter banana sandwiches are awesome. Maybe you'd have one for yourself, a different time, of course. Curiosity satiated, you turned back to your plate and finished your own creation. By the time you were done, Cove had already cleaned up his workstation. He turned to face you, studying your sandwich briefly. He gave it an incredulous look, but didn't question you about it. Good. It may seem weird, especially the egg salad, to me at least. The sandwich I built for her, there's only some things on it that I would like. Like, I wouldn't like egg salad, and I'm not a big fan of avocado on sandwiches. I like it on sushi. But yeah, we'll leave it alone. I don't want Aura to just be, like me. I want Aura to be her own person. Done? Yeah. Cool. He waited as you quickly returned the ingredients and cleaned a few utensils. Then the two of you collected your respective plates. You both agreed on heading upstairs to hang out in your room. You and Cove entered your bedroom. While balancing your food on the plates, nothing fell, so it was a successful trip. Cove took a seat on the ground, stretching out on the hardwood floor in an attempt to keep a bit cooler. He immediately took a big bite of his sandwich, chewed, then hummed happily. This sandwich is really good. At least that's something. At this point, you sat down and started on your own sandwich. You nodded. You were enjoying yours as well. Why would I make a sandwich I didn't enjoy with that many options? Obviously, you were a pro at making sandwiches. He leaned back on his hands while chewing and glanced around. His very movement was sluggish. Wanna do something? It seemed the plan of not doing anything at all had already worn thin, despite his lack of enthusiasm. Like what? He rolled his head back, looking up at the ceiling. I keep picking the yellow options. What about Hangman? Sure. You laughed at this suggestion, but went along with it. You put your plate to the side and pulled out some markers and a scrap of paper. As you laid everything on the floor, he scooted back to make more room in front of you. Cove picked up one of the markers with his right hand, while keeping a half slice of sandwich in his left. Can I pick the phrase? Go ahead, I don't mind. He smiled briefly. He bent over the paper and began sketching the hangman frame. Then he stopped, pursing his lips in thought. He tapped the end of his marker against his cheek. He watched silently as Cove looked down at the paper, up at your face, and then off to the side in a loop. His marker kept tapping his cheek the entire time. You raised an eyebrow. He'd suggested the game, wanted to pick the phrase, but it looked like he didn't actually have anything in mind for it. Finally, he put empty lines on the paper to signify spots for letters. Alright, you can start guessing. You peered over. Three words, 2 3-phrases, and a 4-letter phrase. Okay, you peered over his secret phrase, consisted of 3 words. The first 2 had 3 letters, and the last had 4. You thought hard about what your first guess would be. Enter 1 letter of the alphabet. Oh, there's typing mechanics in this game? Ooh! A is a really good start. A is good for a lot of beginnings, but so is I. I'm gonna go with A. You got one. Okay. I have no clue what that could be. After the first round, you were about to take another bite of your sandwich when a thought occurred to you. I wonder if anyone turned off the TV downstairs. The TV. It was on earlier, but no one was really watching. Then everyone started to leave the living room. I know I didn't turn it off. It might still be on downstairs with no one there. Cove smiled crookedly at that.
Oh.
Poor show, playing with no one around to enjoy it. What was it? You squinted off into the middle distance, trying to recall the show's name. I feel like it was some kind of crime-solving drama. Cove nodded sleepily, his eyes closed, then opened again with some effort. Can you give any specifics? Maybe I can guess it. Well, you rested your chin on your open palm, groggily thinking as hard as you could. I remember there was a woman with long blonde hair, I think. She was the one solving crimes, like as a detective or something? There were scenes at a police station, because someone got arrested. You lapsed into silence, the both of you thoughtful. Then Cove chuckled. It wasn't that funny, but you joined in the laughter anyway.
I don't know.
I don't know what that is. Me neither. I just saw it. Enter 1 letter of the alphabet. R. I have a theory. So that is R. So there's an E in there. Good guess. Another round came and went, and Cove grumbled as he readjusted himself. His features were twisted in a grimace. Feel so sticky. Ugh, I'm gonna be stuck to this floor forever now. No way, I'll peel you off if I have to. Looks like we'll both be stuck here forever then. I'm sticky too.
You're right.
Even when we're gray and old, we'll still be right here. Yeah, we have to accept our fate. You giggled under your breath at such a bizarre scenario. Cove cracked a smile as well. Then you returned to the game. Enter 1 letter of the alphabet. If there's not another E, I'm gonna have to guess something. Okay, there's another E. I have no clue what that word could be. Yep, that's right. Cove spoke up once more, catching your attention. He was peering down at the piece of paper between you, his expression thoughtful. You know, Hangman is kind of a creepy game. Why did people come up with it? Why did they play it? It's a really old game. No one's really sure where the name came from. Really? Nobody knows? Not for sure. Wow. Cove sounded impressed that you knew that piece of trivia. You sat up straighter, under the weight of his stare, proud. Enter 1 letter. Okay, so we've used A, R, and E. I'm gonna guess H, because I'm wondering if that how are. I'm guessing how. No, sorry. I'm gonna start adding the little person, so there's no H. By this point, Cove had finished his sandwich. Yours was almost gone too, but now you were getting thirsty. You brought it up to your neighbor. Should we go downstairs and grab some drinks? I was thinking that too. But I don't really want to get up. Me neither. You looked over at him, narrowing your eyes with false suspicion. But hey, what happened to you not being able to get up ever again because you were stuck to the floor? I'm reverting back to the kid voice. I gotta remember that Aura's voice is like this now. That's still true. I mean, we're not actually going, are we? I only thought about it. You rolled your eyes and dropped the issue. Defeated. Cove grinned a little at your disappointment over his victory. Enter one letter. I wonder if that last word's Cove. Let me try a C. Yep, it's Cove. Okay. That's another one. Enter one letter of the alphabet. O. You're really close. What? So it's not Cove. You... what? You? Is that you? Enter one letter of the alphabet. Is it a Y? So that's you. Yeah. You are... cute? Oh, hell yeah. Cove, my man. Good way to do that. You are cute. You are cute. That was the phrase that Cove had spent so long getting on. You stared at it. A few correct letters in, you had a feeling you knew what the phrase was. I really didn't. I really didn't. Because I forgot this is a romance game. Because I've been falling in love with the characters, so I really didn't. A few correct letters in, you had a feeling you knew what the correct phrase was. Still, you felt butterflies in your stomach at seeing it, clear as day on the paper. You took the words in for a moment longer. Then you looked up at Cove. He had trouble meeting your shocked gaze, a smile settling awkwardly on his lips. His next words left him in a mumble. It was all I could, think of at the time. You covered your face bashfully. Suddenly you had trouble meeting his eyes too. Your hands came up to hide your flushed features from his sight. I'm turning red. Thank you. Cove smiled a bit more. Clearly still feeling awkward. The little self-conscious girl looking in the mirror, and then this freaking, like, super cool sports dude just comes in and says she's cute. No way she wouldn't say thank you. Maybe she'd make out a little squeak, but I feel like saying thank you is very Aura. Cove smiled a bit more, clearly still feeling awkward about the move he pulled. He turned away from you, his cheeks tinted pink. A moment passed between the two of you. Now would be the perfect time to change the subject, but you didn't. He didn't either. Things started feeling a bit more personal all of a sudden. You looked into Cove's ocean eyes, saw yourself staring back. Did you mean it? Do you really think I'm cute? Cove didn't crack a smile or tell you he was joking. He just firmly kept his gaze. Yeah. I don't know if that could be heard, but I said yeah. Finally, he broke the eye contact. I heard at some point you're supposed to start liking types of people, or guys, or girls, or whoever. I haven't really noticed that yet. Nothing's changed, not in a big way. Not for everybody. Maybe I have to grow up more, but at least with... You waited, but he trailed off. He wasn't going to keep talking. Aw, this is freaking adorable. You frowned, a little disappointed. You wished that he had continued with what he was saying. You shook off the strangeness of the situation and tried to be supportive. Maybe you just don't like anybody. Or maybe you like all types of people. That's normal too. Cove seemed to appreciate that thought, but the smile that appeared on his lips was any indignation. But the expression was quick to disappear. He peered over at you, looking nervous. Okay, what about you? What kind of guy or person do you like? So I said I liked Cove, but this has gotten very real for Aura. He winced and seemed to mentally kick himself for saying it like that. He considered his question carefully. Did you know who or what you liked? There was only one person you'd ever had those kind of feelings for. I don't feel like you only seem to feel physical attraction. You didn't really have a physical interest in other people. There was only one person you'd ever had those kind of feelings for. I don't think Aura would have feelings for Derek. I like Derek. Derek's cool, but I think Aura will only see Derek as a friend in this series. Again, like I stated, I want to see where things go with Cove. I like Cove. Maybe that'll change later. Maybe I'll like the other character. I don't know who it was more. But in this current moment, by the way, fucking god, the music's beautiful. I think in this current moment, Aura would only have feelings for Cove. And I really like Cove. As a player of this game, he's a nice guy. He's had a hard time in his life. He's a good person. And I feel like that would be Aura's answer. You were starting to have romantic attraction in a general way. You only seem to feel romantic attraction. There was only one person you'd ever had romantic feelings for. Yeah. Like, I get it. Romantic attraction, like, I feel like I don't like that. I feel like Aura would have both physical and romantic attraction towards Cove. Because, I don't know. I just feel like that's Aura's character. It's a romance game. It's not gonna... Like, they're kids. Let me put that freaking bluntly as hell right now. They're kids. But I feel like Aura would only be seeing Cove in that way right now. Aura doesn't have many friends. She really just has Derek, my cousin, Lena, I think it was. I may be wrong about that. It's been a while since I played this game. And, Shiloh is gone, and then that's it. I only have that small little group. And Derek she only sees as a friend, so Cove would be her choice. Like, Cove's the nice guy. She helped him through a lot. She saw him during a tough time. She hugs him when he's nearby. She cares for him. And that to me just feels like a good reason for her to feel that way. But specifically when it came to how you felt towards boys... You generally weren't interested in guys. You found them attractive. But you hadn't thought about being with a guy. But you were generally weren't interested. You found them attractive. You thought you'd be happy with a guy someday. And how you felt towards girls. Okay, now here's a question. Do I think Aura is bisexual? As a person, I am bisexual. I personally like both guys and girls. That is my personal belief. Do I feel like Aura would have the same feelings? I don't know. I feel like growing up with lesbian moms, and living in that kind of a situation, I feel like that would kind of get her on the same track. And I think that that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like, earlier when I saw my moms interacting, I said she thought it was cute. I feel like she would be. I feel like she would be them. I feel like you found them attractive. You thought you'd be happy with a girl someday. I feel like both ways. I feel like Aura feels like she could be in both ways. For me, it's more of a romantic attraction either way. I don't really feel like physical attractions towards people. I'm in love with the idea of a relationship, which isn't really... We'll not get into that, but I feel like Aura personally would find them both attractive. I think that... I like that. I love that about Aura. Nah. Yeah, I like that about Aura. For people who aren't exclusively male or female, You generally weren't interested in someone who's non-binary, but there were some special exceptions, I feel. You returned your attention to Cove. He was waiting patiently for response. You explained how you felt to Cove. He listened intently, taking in every word as you tried to convey how you felt. He definitely perked up a bit when you mentioned having some interest in romantic relationships. Then he scratched the back of his head, sheepish. I'm not really sure how we ended up talking about all this. We started out just, playing Hangman. But it was good, I think. The conversation had a mind of its own. Cove chuckled a little bashfully. He glanced around, clearly scrambling for something else to say. So, have you gotten to make any progress on your artwork recently? Yeah, actually. I'm really glad you brought it up. The conversation took a lighter turn after that, and it felt like you got closer that afternoon. Finally, the blazing sun began to set. To your relief, the air cooled down a bit as a result. You pulled yourself off the floor, as did Cove. With some minor complaint, you both stretched your arms, groaning, and yawned in your hands. You glanced out your window briefly, taking in the soft reds, pinks, and purples of the late afternoon sky. Somehow, you had made it through the scorching hot day in one piece. Cove turned towards you, motioning towards your window with his chin. Want to go outside? It might be better out there than it is in here now. Sounds good. I could really use some fresh air. The two of you took your time heading downstairs. You stopped briefly to grab a drink of water, then continued on your way. You stepped outside, one after the other, your destination being the familiar hills behind your house. I love this scene. Like, this scene in general, I think is my favorite in the game so far. Like, the surfing one, don't get me wrong, the surfing one was a very good one. I liked, like, seeing Cove on the board. The runaway one, I think, was the saddest scene. I liked that scene of, like, seeing the background. That's why I made a thumbnail of it. But this spot right here, for me, is so gorgeous. The sun rays coming down, Cove standing there, smiling. His green hair, his eyes, like, the way they kind of, like, pierce down. I love anime art style, and that's pretty much what this is. It's a version of, like, Americanized, yet anime at the same time, and I think that's beautiful. But yeah, I'll get back to reading it. This time of day, it was quiet outside. The flowers blew gently in the wind, petals trembling, but stubbornly hanging in there. You felt the breeze cool your heated skin, and you relaxed your shoulders. Cove closed his eyes, releasing a deep breath. I really love it out here. You do? That's surprising. I do, too. I love this hill. This hill holds a special place. It's the first place I met Cove. I do, too. Cove smiled. His tendrils of his hair danced with the wind. A beat passed from his gaze. But his gaze didn't stray from your own. His voice was impossibly soft when he spoke up again.
Aura.
I'm glad I met you, Aura. You're really important to me, you know? Oh. You're special to me, Cove. I'm gonna be honest. Cove, I feel like this has been a very honest conversation. She's not shy around Cove anymore. She's not gonna be super blunt, but I feel like Cove's being blunt to me right now, so I'm gonna be blunt back. You're special to me, Cove. Your voice came out equally delicate. From the way his features brightened, though, you knew he heard you. Then Cove reached over and held your hand without another word. Even as the sun disappeared completely and the sky darkened, you and Cove remained side by side for as long as you possibly could. Growing. Alrighty, guys. That's going to be the end of this video. I loved this episode. I think Wave, I was kind of going like, okay, a lot of these moments are going to be very similar to the other ones. But the growing one, that touched up on some stuff that I really like I talked about personally, and we got into some good moments with the characters, and I love this game. I'm gonna say it again. The creators of this game are coming out with a new one. It's on my wish list. I think it's called Our Life Beginning and Always. Super excited for that. Gonna play it. I know that the creators aren't gonna watch this video. I'm nowhere near popular enough, but if at some point I get to a point where there's tons of people watching my videos, including developers of games, and they happen to view this one, or when the other one comes out in the future, and I play that one, and I'm popular enough to where they see it, I just want them to know that I am a huge fan of the games. This game is beautiful. I love visual novels and storytelling. It's one of my favorite genres, and yeah. But for now, I am going to end this video, and that means we're closing the door on this one.